Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Charles Lawson, and today we're doing a slightly different take on the Know Your Gem Dealer. We're doing it more of a sort of vlogcast style, and our first guinea pig is Yuda.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good, doing good.
That's good. So some people probably know you from Instagram. You got a pretty strong following on there. So today we're going to be looking at Gil's Instagram, getting a bit of a story. Maybe we can call it Instagram stories or something like that.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, can you just give us a little bit of an introduction about yourself?
So I'm a gem dealer based in Bangkok for the last 2 years now, and just sourcing stones from the source, working it out here in Bangkok, and then have it sell anywhere, to anywhere.
And I guess when did you get into it? Like, when did you become a gem dealer specifically?
It's a good question. So I started actually in 2010 as a jeweler, silversmith, to be more specific, in Israel. And then I start producing jewelry, silver jewelry, start selling slowly to Canada. I have family in Canada, in Edmonton. And then slowly getting into more and more into the jewelry, into the world of jewelry. In 2014, I moved to Canada, and I moved for a couple of months first, and then I decided that Canada is quite nice for me, except the winter, but it was very nice. And I had at the time I had the jewelry business with my aunt, she's also a jeweler. And she took me to the Tucson Gem Show.
Nice.
And it was for jewelry.
Kind of thing.
I didn't know that. I just followed her. We went there for jewelry supplies, beads, and I ran into the opals, the Ethiopian opals.
Yep.
And I got opal fever. And I forgot about everything pretty much at that Tucson. I couldn't do anything but staring at these beautiful opals. That was, I think, beginning of 2015. And I got back to Edmonton, continued to do the jewelry for many other years after. But slowly shifting and going into the rabbit hole in gemstones.
Gemstones, yeah.
At that time, it was mostly Facebook, I have to say. Most of the Northern American industry had really big appearance on Facebook groups.
It's kind of the first place really for that sort of marketplace sort of style thing.
Yeah,
I guess.
that was, at the time, it was it. That was
that maybe like Etsy was another thing, I guess, around then, sort of.
For the precision cut, for clean stones, rough, Etsy or eBay or any other of those were not really something that I trusted. Although I tried a couple of times to buy off eBay and buy off Etsy.
I mean, I did try a little bit on eBay back in the day as well, and it was almost like, okay, it was like you were just trying to buy the worst thing you could. Like, you go on there and just, you could find wild sort of treatments and synthetics and things. They're all like labeled as totally natural, whatever.
Totally natural.
Like $2.50 for the ruby. You're like, oh, okay, well, this is a pretty cool little specimen to have for the collection.
Yeah, and you will get a parcel 2 months later.
Yeah.
From some remote location.
Yeah.
That was
a bit of a gamble.
It was a complete gamble. Come on, yeah.
All right, well, let's have a look at the backstory a bit. So we've got Gil's nice little Instagram in here, and you can definitely tell the age on this one because we've got the nice filters going on here back in. So what this is your first post.
So that would be 2012, I believe, right? Or 2011. This is in the
2011. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is in Israel when I just started with silversmithing.
So actually, doing a lot more of the jewelry work there. Doing a bit of wax carving.
A lot of wax. Yeah. I was not really talented soldering and doing hot work, so I put my attention on the wax carving and most of that.
got some of your travels on there.
Yeah, a lot of travels. This
That's
is
Sri-Lanka?
that I think that's a Google picture, but
Oh.
it should be well at that time. It should be the Andaman Islands. I fell deeply in love at that time with the Andaman Islands.
Right. Very nice pick that one.
Or maybe it's Thailand, but it should be. Yeah, there is other Andaman Islands pictures there.
So obviously, jewelry side of things there.
Yeah, a lot of India traveling.
So these things. So you were actually in India for this? Like this is your photograph? Or?
That's how I started. So in India, back into I went to India in 2009, and I started doing some wire wrapping. And when I got back from India, I started getting some gold-filled wires and try to do jewelry with that. When I realized that I'm quite limited with wires, I moved and focused on wax carving, casting. There's a lot of casting places in Israel, so it was pretty an easy thing to do. Yeah.
And is that like a pretty, I guess, traditional thing in Israel for like wax carving that you would do?
I wouldn't say tradition, but it's very common. I mean, in every area in Israel, you can find a serious casting place that does gold, silver, anything pretty much for the local jewelry industry.
What is? I mean, I can't really say I've actually ever looked at specifically Israeli jewelry. Is that like? Can you? Would there be any on your Instagram? This like is
for
that
Israeli
style?
jewelry will look like any other Westerner jewelry, pretty much. There is some techniques that came with Israelis that came from Yemen and came from Syria, and these are techniques that comes from these areas, filigree and different way of soldering. I've seen some in Jaffa, in Tel Aviv before, but the Israeli jewelry would be just like any other jewelry you see in the US, in Canada.
Let's see what we got. So there we go. This looks like this is your work here.
Yeah, that's carving and
That pearls?
wax.
And
Yeah, this is pearls, peapod pearls. The one in the center is a pendant. The one on the right, that's made out of I believe it's not copper, would be brass. That was a keychain I made for a friend.
but the pearls inside the brass one, was that brass or was that little golden brown pearls?
Sorry.
The little pearls inside the brass one, is that?
This is brass. This was wax. It was all wax before. The one in the center is real pearls. And the one in the left again, it's just silver balls that was wax balls before. Yeah.
I guess as a keychain, you're not going to want to put real pearls into a keychain.
No way.
Like just above your fingernail in hardness.
No, yeah, it was just playing around.
Yeah. Well, that's the fun thing with wax is that you can have a lot of fun just experimenting without having to be like a full-on professional jeweler.
Yeah.
There you go. This one of the
This
frames
is
you made
the-
on the.
This is on the Andaman Island.
You didn't eat them, did you? Or eat them?
No. I love goats. It's a lovely animal.
Yeah, very cute.
Yeah, so these pictures on the side are, they're Andaman Islands and then back to Israel.
So looks interesting. What's
This
going
is
on here?
the neighboring community. So I come from a kibbutz. Maybe some of you know of what is a kibbutz. It's very hard to explain. It's a certain type of community that started back in the 30s, I would say, in Israel, and we live together. So it's not a really commune. It's very
like
hard
a
to-
village or like
Yeah,
a,
it's like a small village.
Community.
It's a very tight community for sure. Supporting one another, living together, working together.
like a more close-knit version of just a regular town sort of thing.
Yeah, or a regular small village. Yeah, it's before when I was a kid, I think they stopped it. But before they used to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner together, and do holidays up until today. They do together. Yeah, they bonded their destiny pretty much with each other in the economic side and many other aspects. So this
what's
is
going on here then?
so this is the Omer celebration. This is harvest time. This is the celebration of harvest. This is from the neighboring kibbutz. It's not my kibbutz, but very famous neighboring kibbutz. And their celebration is very big, as you see. It's in the field, and it's a whole ceremony, pretty much, that announce harvest time. Yeah.
Do you think growing up, any of this sort of influenced your sort of gem journey?
A lot, yeah, a lot. I would say very much so.
What sort of ways?
On the human part, on understanding tight communities or tight relationships. Yeah, that gives me, I think, a lot of tools of how to deal with people. I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm a master of dealing with people, don't get me wrong, but I think living in a small community and understanding all these, politics and, intrigues and all of what humans are, creating between themselves, that was like, you live that 24/7, and it gives you a lot of, to my opinion, it gives me a lot of tools of how to deal with people.
Yeah, that's super interesting, actually. I don't think I've ever really sort of spoken to somebody about that sort of influence. So usually, like, for me, it's like I love picking up rocks and all that kind of thing, but they're very cool to actually sort of take that side of your background and utilize it.
For me, when you go outside of, the traditional places or the common places, which would be Bangkok, the gem shows all over the world, mostly Tucson. When you go outside of it and you get into, you go to Arusha or go to places in Lukian or go to Mogok, and there is a very, you can understand that the culture there is very, it's a one thing.
Yeah.
Or close to be very uniform. And then it's different, and you need to understand culture.
Yeah, for sure.
You need to understand who against who in there. And coming from where I come from, it gets you, your sensors are very, very strong.
How is your Pidgin English? Imagining that's probably like, for all the work I do in Africa and Southeast Asia, like sort of sign language and body language and Pidgin English to get through these sorts of conversations.
Yeah, you have to change the way you speak, the tone you speak, sometimes your accent, or sometimes just cutting out certain words because you're overwhelming the other side.
Or even just changing the order of words to match the grammar of what their language would be, just so it makes it a little easier.
Yeah, and you speak with the phone calculator, with your hands.
What's it pointing?
Pointing, yeah. Sometimes you gotta be careful with it because some things that you might do, it comes from where you come from, would be insult the other side immediately. And where if you don't open your eyes for that, you can hurt them without even knowing. If you wave your hands, that can be meaning of disrespect. If you
don't point with your feet.
Yeah,
in a lot of places.
Yeah, in Asia, you can feel the differences for sure. Yeah.
So like. How have you gone with food on your travels, I guess? That's another sort of big part of the not insulting the other culture kind of thing. For me personally, I found the miraculous pill Travelan, which basically coats your stomach for about a few hours.
Tell me about that. I will.
Apparently it gets rid of like 90% chance of like E. coli and that sort of thing. So I'll be in there, I'm eating like, dried goat and whatever.
Yeah.
All my other people are getting the runs, shall we say. And like, you got to get that stuff. It's great.
So with food in some locations, yeah, I've been to Tajikistan in August, and they are so generous, the people there. And we said it somebody's home, and he brought so much food. And I know
You're a big guy, you can eat a lot.
it was so much food. And I know that he will be insulted if I'm not gonna, eat half of it, because he's gonna think that I didn't enjoy it, which I really did, but that was a lot of food. So that's one thing. Sometimes it happens in the bush, I think, in Umba, where I ate something. It was, again, I try to respect them, and I got really sick after. It's not that the food was not good. It was just that my stomach was so, used to different types of food, and I got.
Yeah, I think I've only had one thing like that, and it was a barbecue. It was a cute little goat, unfortunately, and it was the tail, and that just we did those sort of like low light situations, and you're just assuming that something's cooked through.
And it
this,
was
well, by the end of the night, I was like, "Yep,
no,
shouldn't have eaten the tail."
Yeah.
But we'll move on. We'll jump back onto Instagram here. So what else have we got? Oh, okay. So this is some of your. So this is what I actually am interested in. This is your Roman glass jewelry, yeah?
Right. So I believe that was back in 2011.
2012.
12, yeah. So my aunt came from Canada. She lives in Canada. My mother grew up in Canada. So I have half of my family is in Canada. She came to visit Israel, and she loves archaeology. She always did. Me as well. And I started with the silversmithing at the time, and she asked me to make a Roman glass with some of the silver, and she said, I'll try to sell it in Edmonton. And I did, and it went very, very well. So I started diving into the world of glass, ancient glass. Going to the old city of Jerusalem, to ancient artifact licensed dealers there, and buying some glass from them at the time, and going back to the kibbutz and making more pendants and rings, and it really developed from there.
Do you ever have any kind of trouble with like verification on that sort of thing? Because sometimes you get those haters on the internet and like, oh, how can you prove this? It's like, well,
Sure.
It's $100 stone or $200 stone. You're not going to go and get a gem report or an archaeologist on that.
No, so a gem report you're not gonna get, because it's not gemology. It's history, I guess. It's archaeology. So with ancient Roman glass, I've seen fakes before, but they were complete vassals, fakes. They didn't came from Israel. I've seen them actually in the Tucson Gem Show, and they came from. They claim to come from other areas in the Middle East. When I buy the ancient Roman glass, it's already broken. It's broken pieces, and for somebody to fake ancient artifacts, that would be sculptures, that would be coins. They're not gonna fake a broken piece of glass. So that's...
Well, I don't know. That said, I've seen some pretty wild fakes in my day of just... You would think like stuff like fake lapis, like fake low-grade lapis.
Yeah.
Like,
Fakes
why would
are...
you bother?
You can see of so many things.
Sometimes I think I pay a little too much for fakes sometimes, because sometimes there's so much work that's gone into these fakes that the equivalent stone might actually be cheaper anyway, just from the craftsmanship and like, you know, how long it took to actually make this fake aquamarine or fake whatever. Or like, I've got some really cool crystals that have all been like, I've got a garnet carved into a perfect tourmaline crystal, striations and everything.
Wow.
And like, I just want that because that's a cool carving. Yeah, sure, I'll give you like 5 times, 10 times what it's worth just for the work.
Just for the work,
Yeah.
So So fakes are existing. With the ancient Roman glass, I felt quite safe. There is also the patina that is appearing on some of them it needs in the Israeli ground, in this area, to my knowledge, it needs a minimum of 1,000 years to develop.
Are we looking at the same thing here? Is this one?
So this is, this is ancient Roman glass. This is a piece of Bengal. It was a bracelet. Maybe not from the early stage of the ancient Roman glass because it's colorful, but it's definitely.
So is it clear glass? It's kind of hard to tell.
Partially, I believe. Yeah, it's not that clear.
I like the fact that with these sorts of ones, someone's actually worn that piece. Like,
it was a jewelry, and I brought it back to be a jewelry again.
Very, very cool, that one. That's again, keep going on a little bit here. So
sure,
there you go. Now this looks cool. I'm guessing this is a similar kind of vein.
So this is a ancient arrowhead.
Do you know the period?
I don't know. I wish. Yeah, no. I got it again in Jerusalem.
Would maybe be a Persian one, maybe, or
I don't want to say for free. It being so many empires fighting in this region that it's very hard to tell. For me, maybe for an archaeologist, it would be a walk in the park. But so that was again another pendant, a very nice one.
So your sort of speciality was kind of these old ancient pieces from by the looks of it.
Most definitely, barely using mostly using Roman glass, barely using gemstones at the time. Actually didn't care for stones at the time much.
Well, we've got a bit of a baby face here.
Yeah, young, skinny, with hair.
I mean, that's kind of cool that you just got that big old pile there. Like there must be a lot of this material coming around.
It used to be, back in the 90s and 80s. The Israeli Archaeology Authority back in the 80s, I believe, had so much. In Israel, the archaeologists and the locals will call it barat, which means it's broken. There were bags of them at the time. And authorities actually gave some silversmiths in Israel bags of them for free to put them in jewelry. I believe that's early 90s. And some ancient artifact dealers also got some of that. So this picture was taken in the famous Baidun shop in the old city of Jerusalem in the Muslim quarter. Very famous archaeology dealer and family. The White House have some ancient artifacts that the Israeli government gift from them. National Geographic, very, very famous location.
Is there much terracotta around? I mean, I sort of traveled a little bit around, like sort of Greece and that sort of thing, and there I was so blown away to literally see ancient Roman and Greek pottery used as road.
So you mean broken pieces of pottery anywhere, everywhere? Yeah, it's a very common thing. In some places, you can, if you go, and again, that's not for digging or anything like that. If you go to the ancient city of Caesarea, and you go to the it's on the beach, obviously. And in some parts, you can see layers where you can see animal bones, you can see broken pieces of pottery, and you can assume that was the city dumpster at the time. You can see layers of broken pottery, and you can see it going for a walk with your dog. This is very common. It's they produce it for probably 3,000 years on the land, so there is a lot.
Yeah, well, I guess it's that whole thing of like you don't appreciate it when you grow up with that kind of thing. Like people go to Australia, like, that's amazing. There's kangaroos everywhere. It's like, sure, but I go to Greece and I'm like, there's broken pottery everywhere. Like,
Yeah,
Who cares?
it's very common in also archaeology sites. They're everywhere. They're everywhere in Israel, from the north to the south.
And it must be quite a mix as well, because there's been so many like kingdoms and cultures moving around.
It's it is so diverse. You get from pretty much from the Ottoman Empire down to, I believe, 200,000 years back. I mean, so this is prehistoric, I guess. Neanderthal, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, there is some caves with so down and back. I guess that's her.
Well, I guess that would be the migrations that are going up through there from Africa through the Middle East and around.
In some parts, yeah. But you have the Roman Empire. You have any empire that came. There is some rebels and sites that they are related to. Obviously, the Judea and Israel, the tribes, the areas, these sites are all over. In many things, if you open the Old Testimony, you can read the book and see it in front of you.
Yeah.
That's how it's just anywhere.
Yeah, I mean that's a
small country.
Yeah, I think like with Australia, we have 60,000 years of history, but only like less than 300, I guess, of what you might call modern history. So yeah, we don't quite have that. I mean, I watch things like Time Team and they're like going into the backyard of a British, sort of rural area, and they're digging up Roman ruins and Viking amulets and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, I wish we had kind of cool stuff like that as well. Not that our stuff isn't that cool, but not as prevalent, I think, as a lot of other places in the world.
Yeah, in I guess the surrounding Mediterranean, you have a lot. A lot of history.
Very diverse culture.
Yeah, very, very much. Humans left a lot of rocks, a lot of rocks behind them. Yeah, for sure.
So what else have we got here? So that's. I mean, I'm quite envious. I quite like to dig around that big old basket of glass you got there. So what are we looking at?
Yeah, that's a wax basket I made. This is it's all made out of wax. Took me a couple of weeks to make.
What is the function of this thing?
It was just a basket. I liked to play with the with the wax designs. And I created a basket as big as the cylinder, the biggest cylinder of the casting house I worked with. I created the biggest I could for that to fit one cylinder. And then we cast it. You can see, probably there is other pictures. You can see we cast it in brass. Maybe if you scroll down, actually.
Scroll down.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, there's a basket.
Okay, the nice pretty one. There you go. Look at that.
The picture is not really focused. Yeah, it was a one piece, one cast.
I mean, to be honest, I would look at that and think that you cast it in like 8 pieces. Well, like, 9 pieces, like all the sides and then the feet.
So again, I was really bad at soldering with like hot.
I think you done all right there.
So I just made it one piece. I think my friend mother was gifted that. Yeah, that was the biggest thing.
What have we got going on? Oh, that was just a comparison. Oh, that opal?
No. This is ancient Roman glass with patina on it. This is the iridescence that you see.
I guess so that sort of bluish tint on it.
Yeah, the rainbow colors.
That's the
that's on the let's say the skin of the glass, and then silver.
So at what point did you start?
So here, this is after, I believe, the first Tucson. This is right after. Yeah. This is, I believe, an Ethiopian opal. I came back with both Willow opals from Ethiopia and Pedro II opals from Brazil, from that first Tucson. And I got some cabbing machine. That's in Canada already. What you're showing there, and
You do cabbing yourself as well? Or a
I
little bit?
tried. Yeah, I got a really nice machine, but I didn't really had the talent to make a perfect cabochon at the time.
I think you would have been giving yourself a bit of a baptism by fire by starting, if you were starting on Ethiopian opal.
Yeah.
I mean, Australian opal is a little bit tricky, but it's a different ball game with the
Yeah,
Ethiopian
it
stuff.
was a lot more tricky than I thought. They crazed, they got colors into them. I guess they absorb the dirty water from the cabochon
that's-
machine. Then
That's
they
the
turn
weird thing, yeah. If it's
yellow and
yeah, the hydrophane to soak it all up. But
yeah, and soak it all up. So that's the beginning of focusing into stones, I guess. Yeah,
what are we looking at here?
I believe this is nephrite jade, if I'm not wrong.
Not nori seaweed.
Not sure. It is a slab I got from my teacher in Edmonton, Lauren.
I mean, it doesn't look like stone. To me, that looks like you're holding a piece of seaweed up to the.
Yeah.
So that's quite a nice material, actually.
So I got from him so many slabs, and he said just try cab them.
Well, again, you're making it hard on yourself going with jade as well, because that's another notoriously hard
Yeah,
one. to
no,
polish.
and then I cut some fordite, which is extremely soft.
Well, I've cut fordite as well, and at least with fordite, you can just use water motor polish at the end, and that gives you a pretty good finish.
I used a cerium oxide on leather at the time, and even at the polish stages, the color's changing because the layers are so thin with the fordite. So yeah, I played with that. The main idea at the time was buying my stones and starting to source my stones and cut them and then set them into my jewelry, which I did for some period.
That was in
Canada. That's already in
Yeah.
Canada, yeah. That's after 2014.
So I think, well, there you go.
Yeah, so
Well,
more stones.
this is all Ethiopian. I'm guessing?
Yeah, I mean, these are cabochons I cut myself, so they're not perfect.
Doing all right there. For your first sort of batch of them, that's not too bad.
Yeah, no, at the time it was much more expensive than today.
The rough?
The rough, yeah. I think it was over, I believe, $15 a gram. I paid quite a good money in Tucson for that.
I mean, I remember back in the day, like when it was first coming out, I remember seeing it, big bags of just sort of mine run rough, $50 a kilo.
$50
A kilo.
Okay, so that's
Early days. But I mean, that,
early days. Yeah.
but that would be no sort of like just where it's all horrible hydrophane sort of stuff, but just bags of it going from
Bags
that sort of
full of mud and
Yeah, but
so
gone are the days for that sort of price.
in Tucson, I've seen it in the Pueblo show. I think at first time at the Pueblo show, and they were just, a simple wooden table with bunch of these colorful things that I learned to be opals, and I just got drawn into them. They had good qualities there. This is some flywheels cutting there.
That looks Australian.
That's Australian, yeah. So Lauren, my dear teacher in Edmonton, his name is Lauren, and he gifted me a whole bunch of things he had, and that was an Australian opal he gave me. I think I just repolished it. It was quite complete, and then I set it into sterling silver.
Yeah, I think the that white opal these days is not so much on vogue at the moment. I think everybody wants bolder, everybody wants black.
Yeah,
sort of
saturated colors. There's some.
But it's interesting. I've started to see a bit more Australian opal in Bangkok now, but
Wow, that's
all doublets. Like,
okay. Yeah,
Older
come from
doublet.
China.
yeah, but I'm quite surprised. Remember, I don't know if you ever saw the old German guy that used to have a booth on the ground floor of the JTC.
That's before COVID.
Yeah.
I think
I never saw a customer at his booth, but he tried for a good few years. But
with opals.
yeah, well, specifically Australian ones.
With Australian, yeah.
But you might see research.
It's quite tough here with opals. I think I've seen some with Ethiopian opals, yeah, but with Australian,
I think
I think Australians going directly to Tucson and to the European gem shows, and they don't. They can skip Bangkok, right?
Well, I think there's just not the interest in the material here. And then when you add in the fact that you can buy for maybe what you get for $100 a carat in an Ethiopian opal, the equivalent $100 a carat stone in an Australian opal is going to look 1/10 as good as the Ethiopian. And I don't think, even though you could argue that the Australian is going to be better quality, I think that it's just too big of a price difference between the two.
So yeah, and I think most of the cabochons, fix me if I'm wrong, of Australian opals, they cut in Australia.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that lot does go to China. I mean, I'll be at the Lightning Ridge Fair in a couple of months, and there's usually a very heavy Chinese presence there.
Okay.
Like duffel bags of cash, just buying up all the really good big stuff.
And that goes for doublets and triplets, or they also
sort of. I mean, I think they just sort of buy everything. Like usually, if you're buying calibrated stuff in Australian opal, you're like 90% sure it's going to be coming from China, because I think the Chinese, they don't really bother with the sort of free form or the free size, because that gets anything good gets cut in Australia usually. Apart from like the super high end, I think Berlin is actually quite a big buyer, and Japan's quite a big buyer, and China's quite a big buyer, but. The good thing is, I guess, there's not a massive amount of Australian opal in the world.
No.
And we only have very small claims, so you get a lot of like vertically integrated businesses that will mine, cut, make jewelry, sell everything. But yeah, it's also a common hobby in Australia. Like I'd be amazed.
So many people has that.
I think it's I had a shop back in Australia, and you would get probably once or twice a week people coming in saying, "Oh, my granddad passed away, and he had this big Vegemite jar of opals under the bed," or sapphires, but opals and sapphires. Everyone's got a jar under the bed from some relative or grey nomad who's passed it on to them.
That's, You see, I didn't grow up with stones at all. We did. There is barely, except the Lat stone, we don't really have gemstones there.
So is this the faceted glass?
So that's the beginning of, the broken pieces of ancient Roman glass, they're actually melted. They're melted second time. It actually starts in a big kiln where they melt sand, sand beach. The ones that comes in Israel, to my knowledge, mostly come from the Naaman River or the Belus River. That would be in the northern part of Israel. Very nice quality of sand, and then they would melt it on the hills during the fall as the wind blows hard into the kiln.
Right, like literally using the natural wind as the bellows.
Well, they didn't have air compressors or anything. So they would have melted into hundreds of kilos, maybe tons of raw glass, and then it would be shipped to workshops around the Levant or the Mediterranean, all the way to Rome.
It's kind of like selling ingots of glass kind of thing.
Yeah, big chunks. They would ship them. It would ship it, I believe, from the Caesarea, from the port, all over, and then it would get remelted at the workshop. That's the beginning of glass blowing technique. So I took those chunks and I got them faceted. At the time, we got it. The first piece we got faceted was in Canada with some cutter from British Columbia, and then we sent a whole batch to Sri Lanka. So these pieces you're showing, the faceted pieces, they are. The first pieces we got faceted, they came back from Sri Lanka.
Yeah, because I was wondering, because I've got a bit of this myself, and I've sort of found bits and pieces around Bangkok and that, and it's always full of bubbles. So I was quite impressed at how you managed to get these kind of flawless, beautiful
So
chunks.
you see, with Roman glass, I guess many years after me being a gem dealer and selling the ancient Roman glass as a faceted stone, I do not disclose the clarity because actually the inclusions, the air bubbles, some sorts of inclusion in there is a bonus. Because this is a piece of history. Remember, it's not a gemstone. So those inclusions are an extra. They're actually benefiting to, it's just adding another cool factor that there is air trapped for 2,000 years, whereas there is a specks of charcoal from the actual, from the fire that they melt that piece. What it is today, yeah.
I do really like that whole idea of having the air bubbles trapped in there, to think that the air in that bubble is the same air that the glass blower from 2,000 years ago, he was breathing that same air that's inside,
so
locked in there.
As long as the air bubble is not right on the surface and then it creates, it's not an air bubble anymore, it's a cavity. It's totally fine. If it's a cavity, I don't like it because it's, it's just not it's not appealing as much as a trapped air bubble. And it also can maybe create collect some the dust grease.
That's I mean, you got quite a few. And I guess you got the size on these ones as well. Like, that's the other impressive thing, like, to actually have a piece this big. I mean, what is that, about over 20 mil or something like that?
Yeah, for sure. And I actually had bigger pieces than that.
Is that doesn't look like glass?
Yeah, no. Some of the ancient Roman glass would look vivid as a Paraiba, I would say. I mean, a vivid blue, neon blue.
So that's actually that's just glass, that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's man's made, but this is from there is no today additive to it. They created it 2,000 years ago. So that's me trying photography at the time. That's in Canada.
Have you got a stone here?
This is I missed that piece very much.
Garnet.
Color change garnet. That's the first piece I got from my friend Joe on
2017
Facebook.
Here now.
Yeah, on Facebook. That's the piece being cut. I bought it probably a year before, but my first piece of good rough, I guess, that I bought was from Joe at the time off Facebook, not Instagram or.
So this is 2017. So this would be so this looks like we're at the stage of your Instagram where you are getting a bit more.
A tiny bit more. Yeah, a tiny bit more. Again, this is, you can see the mix. This is an ametrine. You see jewelry and gemstones. This is an impressive piece.
The big one you were talking about?
That's the biggest piece I had in my collection at the time.
And theoretically, this would actually be a more durable version of an equivalent fluorite, because this looks very similar to fluorite, but this is actually going to be stronger than fluorite.
Yeah, I think in hardness it's 5.5, 5 or 6 even.
Whereas fluorite's only 4.5, 4, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and they're actually very durable. I set them myself with pliers. I mean, I never, knock on wood, I never sharded or braked any piece. I guess if it survived 2,000 years in the ground, it can survive my pliers.
Well, there might be a bit of scratching going on once it's all done there, I guess.
Yeah.
We got some more of the Aussie opals there. What are you getting into here?
So this is... so that's this is actinolite in quartz from Brazil.
If we skip ahead, are we going to see some jewelry with that one?
I believe so. Yeah, I created a pendant with it.
Although that is catching my eye.
This is ancient Roman glass in the rough.
There you go. Now that just looks like a really sexy piece of peridot.
It's a beautiful, it's glass.
Yeah.
Has a beautiful pieces of rough. The other one you can see just near in the cubic nearby. Yeah, this is the one in the center. Yeah, vivid. Beautiful piece.
So these are the chunks of just like the ingot. Like
Yeah,
pre
this is coming from the bottom of the kiln, where they used to destroy the kiln in every time they finish the process, and that's what's left. The big chunks or ingots would be 100 times bigger than this little one.
That's super cool. Like, and I think whenever you're, even being a gemologist and geologist and you love gems and all that sort of thing, it's like just seeing something. Like, oh, what could I cut that as? Like, it's nice, but even though it's glass, it's like
it cuts.
What can I cut from that one? Yeah,
it cuts beautiful. There is some with rare ones with color zoning. I don't have many of them, but with yellow and brown color zoning. So
are we looking at all gems here now?
So yeah, this is there is a in the center. Oh, so this is a lemon quartz, I believe, cut by Benny Dror with the Israeli faceting machine.
Oh, this looks. Is this?
This is my packaging at the time. I was selling for some period on Etsy, and I
so this is actually literally what you were sending them in?
That's what the client would get. I am
that's so cool.
Very obsessive about the way things are being packed. Sometimes you would get 10 orders a week, and after it's cool in the first and second time, but after 15, 20 times, to sit down and putting this wax stamp and everything one after the other. But I really wanted happy clients. I ordered on eBay these cool mineral and ancient artifacts stamps.
Yeah, I was going to ask that where you got those stamps.
I digged in eBay.
Are they actual genuine old stamps? Or they
no. I bought them from stamps collectors and I put them on the packaging. These are it's a parcel I got from Joe at the time. So yeah, back to these. This is the package. They bought a stone, so they got the stamps were with all kinds of minerals and cut stones from different countries, and with the ancient artifacts as well.
You could start a collector sort of customer base there as well. They want to keep ordering from you because they want to get more stamps.
Well, at the time I really wanted them to have a good experience and to come back. Still today, but I mean that's when it really started online.
I mean that's super cool. That's a super cool.
That's the beginning of me selling online there.
I would like to think that was a nice Australian one, but I'm guessing that's probably an
Ethiopian, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. It's almost like when I look at this stone moving, the speed at which the play of color moves almost feels like a different speed to the Australian stuff. Like this stuff, it seems to roll faster. Like you can kind of tell by the way the color rolls straight away. It's Ethiopian.
And the pattern, I think that there is different patterns also that you can see with the Ethiopian versus the Australian. So a very, very nice piece.
Yeah, guys. Okay, is this a mining image?
Yeah, that's me first time in Thailand. I believe that's 2018. I went with my friend that speaks Thai. He's from Israel. He spent a lot of time in Thailand, and I went with him. No, wait, let's go back to that. So this is Chantaburi. Going to Chantaburi, and then just trying to see some mining at the time.
I mean, that's an interesting trommel that we got there, because normally a trommel would have your water feeding in from the top and rotating. I don't think I've ever seen a trommel where they're literally shooting it up.
Oh, they should. Yeah, there is a person there. They're not in the frame.
Yeah.
They're sitting with that water gun.
I've tried them myself, but I've just shot the mountainside basically to wash it into the sluice. But that's quite an interesting way to actually get around building the trommel, a full trommel, I guess, just having a hose.
Maybe it has something to do with the soil. This is a sapphire. It's obviously sapphire corundum mostly.
Was the next shot? Is this the mine run from that shot, or is this
no?
Else?
So this is Mogok. So I didn't really post much at that time on Instagram, not as much as today. Let's put it this way. But this is Mogok. This is the end of the day in Mogok.
Spinel?
Yeah, that's cleaning time. I believe this is a ruby or spinel. That's cleanup time, pretty much. And they were very stressed at the time because their license was about to expire. This is 2018 or 19, I believe.
Is it 19?
That's already 19, the beginning of 19 maybe.
Yeah, that sort of boundary between formality and informality is such a fine line. It's such a gray area sometimes. Like I'm all for formalizing the sector, but I like to think of like informal formality because you can't expect every little miner to go out and sign up for some kind of paperwork, but you also have to have some kind of regulation. And I think that's actually where Australia does quite well.
And also the type of mining, obviously.
Yeah. So I think it's no one's figured out the perfect balance yet when it comes to formalization, but it has to be done in some way. But I think you get tired of the paperwork.
At this mine in specific, they were mining in very deep shafts, and there is, I believe, 4 or 5 mines, or I guess different companies that work along that stretch, and they couldn't mine. There is a lot of water that builds up in those shafts, so they had to pump it all at once together. So it's not like an artisanal small operation where a couple of guys or family members are just digging on a mountainside. This was a real ongoing operation. So they had to have a license. They you can't go around that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess something like this is obviously an alluvial mine as well. So I guess going deep, you're going to have some kind of structural support.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They had pumps for air and pumps for the water. It was very deep. I didn't go. I never go in.
There you go. This is as you're on your way in there.
That's the shooting point in Mogok. Not
Welcome
far
to Rubyland.
Yeah, up from the other side.
Yeah.
That's not far from where they found lapis, I believe, in 2016, if I'm not wrong.
That's one of the sort of more like random things. Like often you hear like like aquamarine or amazonite or all these like weird things that sort of pop up in the sort of interesting geology.
In Mogok, there is
anything and everything.
It's not only in Mogok. I guess the whole area, the whole stretch. From diamonds that I would never expect to see rough diamond in Mogok, but this is Burmese. Diamonds, lapis was I guess for me was mind blowing more than anything. It's mixed in marble. Quite good qualities I've seen actually of lapis there.
Like
again, I was surprised.
On a scale of like 1 to Afghanistan, where would you say the Mogok lapis falls?
I'm not a lapis specialist, but I would say quite a 6, 7 for the qualities I got to see. Yeah,
I imagine it's probably like crazy expensive too, because anything that's rare from Mogok, people generally put a crazy price tag on.
It's not really common. I guess they didn't. It's just there is so much that comes from Afghanistan that there is no justification to open the mine for that.
It depends though, I guess. Like in Australia, we charge a lot for an Australian yellow sapphire, like probably more than double a Sri Lankan one. And I've sort of noticed a similar thing with the Burmese stones a lot, like just by having Burma attached to the name and having it as something that's not so common over there. Then suddenly the price just
it's not really relative to the quality, price, just the name.
Yeah,
I can see it with ruby. I can definitely see it. It has its history and romance with other materials as well. But Burma aquamarine, I don't know. I would pay more for Mozambique, aqua or Brazilian.
Get a better stone for a better price.
Yeah, for sure. But and there is aqua. It's not exactly in Mogok. I believe it's 70 kilometers away. But you can see all kinds of materials that come from Mogok. Ruby to the most ruby and blue sapphire. They will also pay between themselves more. They value that. not even if you just stay in the Burmese bubble. They have their own, ecosystem for, the locals will pay.
Well, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people that will go and buy Burmese stones in Thailand, go back and sell them.
Go back, yeah. You can see it also in Vietnam happening, where Vietnamese people are proud of their stones, and they should, and they bid much higher than you as a foreigner gem dealer. They would bid 4, 5, 10 times much more than you because they want it for their wife or for themselves or for investments. They have their own valuation for this type of material.
But I think this is something that excites a lot of people is the spinel here. What are we looking at?
So
spinel here?
I have to say, so I went to Mogok because I was in Canada and I was in Canada working on a farm and doing silversmithing. And I've seen some video of Vincent Pardue. I believe it was a GIA video, if I'm not wrong. And Vincent was somewhere in Asia. I didn't know anything that time. Vincent was somewhere in Asia on a mine site, and they had these beautiful red stones on a golden plate. And I just got, I got hooked in that second, and I said, I don't know where it is, and I don't know what this material is, but I'm going to go there, and I'm going to get some for myself. It's not as a business thing. I just wanted the adventure, the journey. I really needed it at the time, and I found out that there is a place called Mogok, and it's in Burma, and these red stones are spinels. And I started looking into it more and more and get really hooked by the beauty of these red stones.
So looking here now, would this be about the time?
So this is me coming back from Burma in the first time and going back to Canada and putting some for sale on Instagram and on Facebook as well.
So are you specifically after the Jedi spinel on these ones?
I was after the Jedi, hot pink, red. They were just majestic, they were mesmerized.
Is that a spinel in the center there as well?
That's a spinel in the center. It was recut by Justin. So I just knew Justin at the time. And I bought in Burma these cut spinel, and Justin was doing a recut for it. That's me doing some pictures, trying to do some pictures for that, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. These are the nice shots. This is where you've got, this is the brass plate.
At that time, at the first time in Mogok, when I got there and I got to these golden plate with these red stones, I told them, okay, I want to buy it, but I also want to buy the plate. And the locals used to, they were laughing, but I wanted it. And I started collecting these plates. Some of them are very, very beat up and used and very old. So that's me showing the spinels on a golden plate. It's very iconic for Mogok, these golden plates.
This does remind me, I'm just going to have a quick little segue here because this is something a little bit sort of close to my heart, as it were, when it comes to these sorts of things. But this is something that I'm trying to get going, not so successfully, but this is my teacup concept. But basically, one of my students, she came up to me in rural Madagascar with this teacup, and most people would generally sort of just chuck something like this away. You can see in the middle here that there's a couple of little crystal barrels and things. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to buy the whole thing, but I want you to sell me the cup. And I'm going to make a story about. Oops, wrong one. That's not the right one. The teacup collection. Yeah, so you see it running. So this is up after it's being cleaned up. And that dirty little teacup turned into
A beautiful,
beautiful
that's
vessel.
the most exciting thing where you have these things that are a treasure. They're uncut gem. They're a treasure, and then you go back home. You get to, change it, get it recut, get it cut, and suddenly it turns to be even more of a treasure, I guess. Yeah.
Just that little segue there. But yeah, I can definitely understand wanting to get the brass plate. It's just that little keepsake and that memory.
Yeah, it's a memory. It's not gonna be, I didn't plan to sell those spinels, but I end up selling these spinels, and I part with many, good
Seller's
materials.
remorse.
Yeah, don't we all have it?
You gotta learn to let go sometimes. I mean, I've got a few regrets as well.
But the plates stay, my bracelets stay. These things that comes from these journeys are highly important for me.
Yeah, yeah.
They need to stay. They're good memory. Stones are, in the end of the day, it's hard to say, but I want to tell myself that I had them and have the journey and enjoy traveling and enjoy the hunt. But they need to move on to someone else. I can't hoard all of these beauty and all of these precious things for myself. There is no point in that. So
And that's the thing. I can definitely empathize with that. I think I'm of the same sort of mind. It's kind of almost like your collection is just an evolving thing. Like it's a transient collection.
Yeah.
Like you look after them for a little bit and then they move on to someone else. And like you say, you knew you had them for a while.
and they
part of
made
your
you
life for a
feel
while.
great,
Yeah.
looking and staring at them. But when it's time, it's time.
And there's always that hope that you'll find another one somewhere. Although on the really, really rare stuff, I generally make the rule of I'll sell it when I get a second one. Because sometimes
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever see this again.
Sure.
I've got a 3-phase and hydro sapphire with a bubble
Yeah.
liquid and actual solids inside. That one I'll sell. Got to find a second one first.
Yeah, I totally. So some of them takes years to get, even when you find them, when they're in someone else's hand. Until you get your hand on that, then it's also something that you count.
Yeah.
I not only need to replace it, but I need to convince the person I'm gonna make sure I'm actually gonna get it. So
Is there a bit of gold during that? What do we got?
some gold ring my friend found was on.
Hey, you found an ancient one, or is that just
No. This is in Edmonton. My friend found it.
that looks a bit like an Etsy ring? That one.
It was gold. It looks quite old. I don't know if that's a ruby. It's probably a synthetic ruby. Very common to see it in jewelry in North
The cut and
America.
polish looks a bit modern for that to be an ancient.
No, it's not ancient. No, Edmonton is, I believe, 110 years old. So his maximum is 110 years. Yeah, so selling rough spinels at the time, I was selling small rough spinels, parcels. And then going back to Buria, once again,
There's the iconic archway.
welcome to Ruby Land.
Although one thing that's always sort of
Oh, I was so happy to be back.
I've always been a little bit confused. Like, well, it's funny. Like the way it says "Welcome to Ruby Land," not Ruby Land. It's Ruby Land. But that's. I think everybody who goes to Magog has to get that shot.
Everybody. It's so hard to get there. It takes so much effort.
Yeah.
I think, you have to stop there. You have to make that picture.
Well, that and your first one as well. The next. I don't think we can quite see the big ruby in the background though. Can we on your first picture there?
I
think it was
maybe a
just
tiny.
out.
Yeah,
There you go.
can see,
Just
yeah.
at the background there.
The
Yeah,
movie,
little-
and then this is Mogok downtown, I guess.
So definitely got a bit of a love affair going on there with
Spinel. Oh, I got totally hooked into spinels. This is me on my second time buying a tiny piece of ruby.
Yeah, I haven't
This
got out
is
to these
I
mines,
believe
not
that
mines.
Tao mine.
Having a local smoke there as well. The sort of hand rolled cigarettes that you get over there, the little herbal ones.
I think it was no. I think it was from Bangkok.
That's what it's great getting out these sorts of like.
It has this tiny box with the stones.
Is that the one?
This is already Lukien. This is An Phu on the way to Monkey Mine, very famous location above An Phu.
How did you find getting into these mines?
How do I find getting to these mines?
Is it difficult to get there? Like,
So
lots of regulation?
in that trip, actually, it was difficult because it was just a very steep climb and it's long to get to Monkey Mine.
But what about like regulations? Like, do you have to get permits or?
No. Vietnam is the easiest trip for any beginner gem hunter. I would say it's safe. It's an easy access. It's only 3 hours away from Hanoi. You're gonna get to see stones. People are friendly. Maybe prices can be a challenge, but you're gonna see stones. You're not gonna see the amounts you see in Mogok. Not a friction of that, because Mogok is just when you get there and you're sitting in the umbrella market is so overwhelming. In Vietnam, it's more you're gonna see the stones you saw yesterday at the morning market. Takes a long time for things to change, to my experience. So we climbed there, and I did that trip with my father actually the first time to Lukien.
Are we still in Lukien here?
So this is the rice fields on the plateau. So this is the rice fields in small village it calls An Phu. This is a secondary deposit, obviously, that they dig in the rice fields, but it's in a plateau. So you're going up with a motorcycle or a car, and then there is that rice field plateau, and there is more higher mountains. Monkey Mine is even higher than An Phu.
So it looks like, is that maybe an alluvial deposit? But they look like they're pretty sharp edges on the material there.
Yeah.
That's cobalt spinel?
These are cobalt-bearing spinel. I don't want to argue about what's cobalt spinel and not, but yeah, these are blue spinel. The color shift purple and blue, I guess, because of chromium.
Coming up here, you actually, when you hold it into the sunlight, you actually get a little bit of that sort of purple shift coming in.
Yeah, exactly.
We got some quite nice sizes there. Like, it's not easy to find little cutters like that.
No, it wasn't easy, and they're working so hard. They find quite small amount in the end of the day. This is back to Mogok. This is West Mogok, traditional paddle cutting. See that she's cutting and polishing in the same time. This is ruby melee cutting for the local jewelry industry, actually.
I think I need to buy myself one of these machines, but I think these ones, I just love watching people like.
This is totally free form.
Yeah, like you can kind of just look at the facets rather than looking at your diagram.
You see there is no loop here. There's not much, at least these two ladies. So one is, I guess, and you see how she's just changing the stone from the pavilion to the crown, I guess. Again, it's free. Yeah, it's very, very free form type of thing. They were round, brilliant, let's call it this way, but very free form.
I mean, and literally not even a little lamp, just a little wax candle to do
just
stopping.
A wax candle. She just disconnecting and changing the sides, and they're having a nice afternoon there.
I mean, it's even just like the machine itself is actually just like a really beautiful machine, like that nice wood. You can see like the oils on for years, just
wood, and that's very long. I believe it's over 2 meter long. There is a very big belt that turned there. So,
and also you don't have to worry about the power going out because you just keep pedaling.
No, not at all.
So there we go. So you're getting getting a bit more of your fascinating stuff here.
Yeah,
Like an interesting guy getting into the hard rock there must be.
So I'm very proud. It's my own picture. I took it. It was this is a raw footage actually, so the colors are not in great shape. This is a miner in Bolonji, very famous ruby mine. It's a miner that just went, finish his day. He has his power tool on his shoulder.
So are they? I mean, they're just using like generators and just using pneumatic tools like that.
Yeah, so this is after the mine was closed, so who knows? He was looking at the tailings outside. This is an artisanal miner. Maybe you see he has a light on his head, so he might went inside if it was open. So this is the Tucson show.
A booth.
Yeah, I shared a booth with Joe Henley. It's the 22nd show, selling mostly spinels and some cut stones.
Is that your iconic little brass?
Yeah,
brass
I
thing
try
there?
to bring Mogok to Tucson. Why not? And a lot of these red spinels on these plates. It was quite a good show. Surprisingly, not too many vendors had this amount or any amount of rough small octahedron spinels.
From there to there.
Exactly, yeah. This is Sarah in the end of Tucson after 2 weeks there.
What do you got going on with the hat there?
So this is a Shan hat. I bought it. I'm collecting hats from where again these items. I'm collecting hats for where stones came from. So from in Mogok I got these Shan. It's from the Shan people. This type of hat. It's made out of
Looks like
banana.
a pith helmet almost.
Sorry?
The shape is a bit like a pith helmet, like the old explorer.
Yeah, but it made out of banana.
Yeah.
Banana and some tarp. It's all handmade. So I hanged it on the wall. I brought a Pamiri hat from Tajikistan, and
Is it like the round one?
it's a very nice, colorful, some sorts of hats. It's quite shallow. I brought that from Tajikistan and the Pashtuni from Afghanistan. I didn't go to Afghanistan, but I got it on the Tajiki side. Yeah. So I have this collection in my office of all these hats.
I mean, to be honest, looking at that now, I kind of thought you had a little bit of a Brazilian flag thing going on there with the.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks a bit like that. You could wear that to the football.
Yeah.
People probably wouldn't know the difference.
So from these Tucson show, that's 2020. I believe that's February 2020.
Yeah.
I took a flight to Bangkok and back to the mines, back to Mogok. This is in the beginning of COVID. COVID already started it. Yeah.
I mean, the sort of access must have been pretty hit or miss around then. I mean, I've only been to Mokok once. That was back when it opened up officially in 2015, I think it was. Haven't been back since. But you ask people about it and like, oh yeah, the Shan. Is it the Shan state that's rebels in there?
Yeah, this is very. There is so many groups, different groups on
But
the area.
it seems between like Tanji and Mogok, like Mongshu and Mogok, one will be open, one will be closed, and then the other one will close, and the other one will open, and then
So
be
yeah,
closed.
Taunji or Mongshu, this is Shan State for sure. Mogok, I'm not sure in which state it's located, but Mongshu it was much harder to get to. When I got to Mogok, Mongshu was like a no-go.
Yeah, like it just depends who's in trouble at the moment. I guess with Mogok now, I think you can get your permit to go, but it's a permit from the government, and the government isn't in control. So even if you get a permit, you can't go in anyway.
Yeah, and it's also dangerous. I don't recommend anyone to go, not because they're gonna buy these beautiful stones instead of me, but it's just not safe. Yeah, it's just not safe. There is a lot of conflict going on right now.
When you were there, was there like curfews? I mean, I think when we were there, people were generally saying don't go out after 6.
When I was there, you in Mogok, not in Mandalay or Bagan or any other places.
Mogok specifically, I mean.
In Mogok, you needed to be with a licensed guide and the driver.
Yeah.
Any moment you're not in the hotel. So that was what the permit gave, and that's what, you just follow these orders. Which, after looking at thousands of stones a day, you want to go to the hotel and just, rest.
Yeah.
In the end of the day, there is, it's hard work, Go to Mogok as a gem dealer. You, from the moment you wake up until the sun goes down, you're looking at stones, you're closing deals, you're trying to get. It's also not that cheap to go. You pay the taxi, you pay the license guide, you pay the hotel, you pay these people who make all these paperwork for the permit, to apply for the permit. So every day costs pretty good amount of money, right?
That you're adding in. If you're going to Mogok, you also want to get out to the mines at least once. So you got factor that in as well.
Yeah, so go to the mines. That was for refreshing my eyes, to enjoy.
Yeah.
But when you're there to purchase, you're there to purchase. And, until the sun goes out, you're chasing stones, 100% you're chasing stones there. Also at the mines, of course. Yeah. But the markets are, in Mogok, there is, I believe, 4 or 5 at the time. I don't know today with the conflict if they're all operating, but at the time there were at least 4 or 5 markets that we would just zigzag from one another. Have a quick lunch, then go to the afternoon market, started the morning market over there, then go for some private meetings and do lunch, then go to the evening market in West Mogok. That was, that's...
Were you ever able to get into like the private auctions? Because I know, like, I'm only going there once. We got to sit outside the auction, but like they were like, "Oh, this is like a very local kind of thing." Did you ever actually get into any auctions?
I didn't look for it. I didn't look for it. I didn't see much, and I didn't really want it because it takes time. These auctions, and it takes time away from hunting for other stones, right? So these auctions were less of my
stuff, though.
The best stuff goes in auction there. Big ruby, big sapphires, parcels of peridot. These auctions also happened at the time in Yangon in the big jade show. They had these auctions as well on Mogok materials.
Yeah, the jade market there is wild. I don't think I've ever seen so many mopeds, so many scooters in my life than what was parked outside the
That's...
Yeah, how do you get that one in the middle out once he wants to leave? But
somebody does.
Well, and I like the sound, even though it's like a chaotic, hectic sound in the Mandalay jade market. Just
Mandalay,
clink, 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 because everyone's tapping the jade. It's like that little
there is thousands of people when they play with these bangles.
Yeah,
these Chinese lady bikers are so, they're working so fast. I don't know what they're rushing for, but they're working always so fast in the jade market there. That's the buyers. I mean,
I guess maybe part of the working fast thing is that if you slide it out of the way quickly, then you can get on to the next person without that person grabbing you and trying to haggle with you for the long time. Because that's always the thing. They're like, "Oh no, give me your price, give me your price."
They were also doing these WeChat, so I don't know how these WeChat was working, but they were like, it seems that in the middle of the day they were just overwhelmed.
Crazy, yeah.
So intense. I love the jade market. I spent months in Mandalay at the time, and just going. I was just enjoying my, it was winter in Canada. Let's put it this way. So I enjoyed Asia, and I liked Mandalay. It was very simple and peaceful at the time. And I used to go every day or two to the jade market, getting some jade, talking to some local dealers. There is some, they used to have some mogok material, so also doing that. Yeah, wonderful experience. Jade market is fantastic.
So I think we're getting pretty close to your. Well, look, actually, this is something that I think is a bit close to your heart, and it's something that you've been promoting for a while.
The noble flashlights.
Real flashlight. What's
Yeah.
So tell us about these flashlights and why is this something that's something that you're pushing so
hard? It's produced by a small family in Mogok. It's a small business produced by one family. They make it for the local market. It's not meant for us. Let's put it this way. It's designed for ruby and sapphire and spinels primarily. All the local dealers are using, and it's one of the most dominant item you see in Mogok. It's a great flashlight. So at the time I got one for myself, and then I start to promote them and bring them outside of Burma, selling them primarily on social media.
Is it a good quality light? Like, I mean, you see a lot of these sort of things around. What makes it different, I guess?
So first of all, the button on the side, it's a pure yellow light, as pure as a LED light can go, I guess. And it's very, very powerful for rough and cut stones. So, the yellow light. Sorry,
is this the one tone, just yellow light?
Yeah, just yellow light. It's not a those 1 million lumens flashlight. It's not. But if you put the piece of rough or a cut stone on the edge of these nozzle, I guess, any type of inclusions will be revealed. It just showed them so well in rough and cut stone. So,
well, I think the important thing with this one as well, something that I don't see a lot of, and I don't understand why I don't see a lot of, is like the nozzle, like the aperture on the end of this is a nice small aperture, nice small hole.
So,
and you see so many of these gem torches out about on the marketplace, and they've got a huge opening,
right.
And you're like, I'm looking at small stones.
Yeah, but they are normally coming from China, and they are made for jade. It's not for for a small Congo tourmaline rough. It's not for that. Now, the Noble also have in that nozzle, so under that nozzle, there is a piece of, I guess, magnifying glass, but it's upside down. So it's even centerizing the light even more towards the center. It's not optic, but it's very precise.
We'll have to bring one in and do another video on the torch by itself.
Most welcome.
I think we've probably got some better pictures and videos of that elsewhere in your feed, I think.
Oh, yeah, every time. So it's taking a lot of time. It's very hard to get them. They're made one by one by that family. And right now with the conflict in Burma, it's very difficult for them to get all the raw material and for them to ship it out to me. So every time I get a new batch, I post it for people to see. Before Tucson and after Tucson shows, I guess other gem cutters and dealers and gemologists see with other people. That can be a long wait list that can cover a couple of batches that comes. Yeah.
But I did just spy a little bit of lapis there. Is this
lapis?
Which lapis?
Oh no, this is
spinel.
This is blue spinel. This is Kobing, in Anfu, of blue spinel. This one is it had very strong color shift from blue to purple, so cobalt and chromium, I guess. I couldn't find much cutters there.
There you go. Actually, is she Oh no, she has got a small aperture on that torch there. So I do have one similar to hers where you can actually add that little small aperture onto the end.
Yeah.
That's a good way
This
to do
is
it.
they sell that in Lukian. They have those that it's
Yeah.
can add it.
But that's I don't think I've seen as big a pile of blue spinel before. That's a
I've
pretty
seen
big
only once at that time. Yeah, after I came back and they were, eats and beats. But when they find a couple of pieces and they, they strike it, then you see the goods, right?
Yeah, that's. I mean, but yeah, like on the small screen now, I can like when it was back down on the smaller side there. I feel like I could be forgiven for thinking that was lapis, but that also just from the fact that I wouldn't ever have thought that there'd been that big a pile.
Yeah,
Of straight
no,
up
no,
blue
no.
spinel.
That's the only time I've seen that on that size of rough. That was the only time. After that, I've seen some on very small size rough. But
So
yeah.
we've got an interesting chap. What's it? Another artisanal from.
This is in Yuda Dekada, if I'm pronouncing it right. It's a miner in the end of the day taking a bag of what they washed, pretty much, taking it up from that small valley, mound, I guess, from the valley, taking it up home.
Wouldn't it be nice if it was a bag full of that?
These are Manseen. I got those in Mogok in that trip. This is me selling from Edmonton. These even these sizes are very, very expensive today. I'm talking like 4 years ago, right? Price of spinel has been, climbing. Yeah.
I mean, it probably won't ever quite reach ruby prices, but it was always kind of like the poor man's ruby, and now it's like the middle class ruby, I guess.
Yeah, there is so much more interest in spinel in the last years. It's amazing.
And the different colors of spinel as well, with like the grays really coming into popularity now.
Gray, the prices of gray has been.
This is all spinel as well?
I believe these are all spinels from Burma, I believe so.
Yeah. I like these sort of Burmese ones when you get that. It's almost like polished sea glass. Like, when the sea glass get that sort of like sandy, sort of smooth,
I love that.
velvety sort of tone to it. And that's
some cut garnets at the time.
Is that
These are spinels, rough spinel, beautiful material.
Oh yeah, that looks like that's the one on the top right. It looks like the sort of one that could have a Star of David almost, where those flat sort of mackerel sort of twin ones. But I do know you have had one Star of David on here.
Oh, I have a whole bunch of them. I'm hoarding them, yeah.
Well, this is one of those things where I'm annoyed that I sold them, because I bought a bunch of them in like 2011 when I was studying over here, and I just thought they were common. Like we were going through a big bag of stuff, like a few, like maybe 7 or 8 kilos.
They're quite rare, and complete ones are even more rare.
Yeah.
They come from Pinpiet.
Sure. I mean, there must be a few from different places, I guess.
Yeah.
But like, I must have sold off like 4 or 5 of them, and just like I gave some away. Like, just I was like, oh, there's a whole box there. We found like 5 or 6 of them. Surely
it's quite rare.
That was before I got clued in.
With spinel, that I guess for the specimen collectors, there is some shapes in spinel that can get quite rare. Siricate spinel, siricates can get rare. They are rare. There's a twinning, but it's a complete flower. Flower. It's more than 2. You have the Japanese flag spinels. These are clear spinels with a red core. These are quite rare as well.
Yeah, I guess that's a bit similar to like the diamond. Sometimes you get that little sort of dark core inside the diamond. That another sort of collectible sort of one.
So this is you're starting to get into the area where I left the jewelry on the site for that time, and I started to be really focusing on gemstones. That's deeper in the rabbit holes.
What is this? Is that us?
It's a rough Manseen, I believe. Manseen spinel Jedi.
I appreciate the shape on that one. That's because you've got your little keel line on the bottom, and you've got a bit of a flat top. Are you hitting it with the UV there as well?
Oh yeah, I'm using the UV on that for sure. Yeah, just to show that it reacts pretty strong.
More of your travel stories. Where we got over here?
This is that's on the way to Yadanekadekada. This is from a very old and famous mine named Chapata, down to Yadanekadekada. They're very close to one another. So it was a walk down.
Ooh, what is that?
Some opals I had, yeah, doublets.
Not quite the best ones there.
No.
This is a familiar scene, the swamping scene when
This is
people think you're gonna buy and just descend upon you.
Yeah, and that's we call it morning market. That's the market outside of nearby the big lake in Mogok. And that's me outside, trying to have a moment, but I'm being chased.
I mean, how many hands can you see being offered to you there?
But there is good stones that being offered and in good prices also this way. There is not one way. It was, I try to have a silent, just chill moment.
I think you get good specimens in these situations. Like I picked up like nice crystals and nice bits of rock.
Nice crystals.
Stuff that, old
got stones also.
That Goblin would be after back in the day. Yeah, the interesting pieces often come out in these little packets.
Yeah, and they're their little purses are purse of surprise. You don't know what will come. Sometimes it would come with a beautiful specimen. Sometimes it would be some rare zircon, or they have so many surprises. These people in the picture around, these are dealers or brokers that not necessarily has a table in the market. And you would see them after in the umbrella market. You would see them anywhere you go. You would see them, and sometimes they would offer the same stone again. You get to know these stones sometimes. But that's how it is. The Burmese dealers are, they have hundreds of years of, I guess, knowledge of how to sell and how to do. And they're masters. If anyone goes to Mogok and think that somebody doesn't know what they're doing there, is completely wrong. Not that I thought when I went there, but I got to learn that they are so sophisticated. They have their eye. The price, if you are asking, let's say I'm looking at that as a crystal, this glass, there is one price if I hand it back and asking how much. There is a different price if I'm holding it and asking. The price would change if I spend 5 minutes or 2 seconds looking at the crystal. And they're artists and what they do. They're super sharp.
Yeah. Something else caught my eye there, but we were talking about before. This is the little
right. That's a Japanese flag spinel. It was named Japanese flag, obviously, because it has a red center, red core. It was named, I believe, by a gemologist named Laurent Messi. And this picture was taken by my friend Mike. He was a GIA student, and then when I met him in Tucson, I handed him, I think, or I sold him one of those. He took that lovely picture.
How big is that piece?
I believe it was somewhere around half a carat. It wasn't big at all. So I think the biggest one I've sold of Japanese flag was 4.4 carat, and that was the biggest to my knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, I guess looking at, I'm guessing that's probably under a microscope.
Yeah,
you can tell that it's that big.
Mike is doing beautiful microphotography. I believe you can find him as Mike Gold. Instagram.
We'll probably start getting to the super professional photography soon.
So let's scroll up.
Actually, is that the little? Okay? This is what I have in my collection. Actually, these little tiny little pieces. Like when I think of cobalt, I think of like Windex spinel. this is what I'm thinking how you're finding it.
Yeah,
most of the
these
time.
came from Anfu, Bava Anfu from Monkey Mine. We got it at the site, to my memory. Beautiful material, very, very small, but for collectors, it's wonderful spinels.
Yeah, like some of these ones were like down the bottom there, like it literally is like crystallized Windex.
Yeah.
Like, it's just such.
When it's good,
vibrant
it's
color.
good. Yeah. So this is me making videos in Edmonton, but soon, this is, I believe, during COVID, the beginning of COVID, quarantine time after coming back from Asia. So
That looks like a sort of typical sort of.
yeah,
scene.
this is again, this is
3 people on the scooter. Well,
yeah,
that's
no, no,
3
no,
people's
no,
not too
no.
bad.
Yeah, three guys with these Saruka, I guess that's the name for that tool.
Okay, well, that's quite a delicious looking picture, isn't it? There you go. Wow, look at that.
Beautiful sapphires and zircons and rubies and spinels.
The green is zircon.
I believe, yeah. That's these are green zircons.
That was another one of my regrets, actually. I sold a beautiful 5-carat green zircon. One that I just picked up just randomly, thinking, oh, okay, surely I can get this again. And then I'm like, a few years later, these are going for pretty expensive now. Probably shouldn't
They're
have.
expensive and they're rare.
Yeah.
Green zircon from when it's real green. First,
Like
it comes
open
from,
color green. It's great.
yeah, from Burma. It comes from Tanzania. I've seen from Tunduru. From my experience handing it to gem cutters, it has some issues with when polish this material.
So I think it's partially mixed, so it's that slightly degraded to get to
Yeah.
the green, like that.
There, for me as a gem dealer, I just heard. I'm not a gem cutter, so I'm not really. We have to ask maybe Justin, but some pieces just got rejected because they tried for a couple of days or weeks to do different polishing and they couldn't get it.
Yeah, well,
polished.
like a low zircon is going to be like more brittle as well. So it's like it's essentially it's like lightly radioactive, so it is actually decomposing sort of thing. So I think generally with the greens, they are this more medium to low zircon or better mixed zircon. So never tried to cut it myself, but I have heard, like you say, some pretty difficult stories about trying to get good polish on low zircon.
Yeah, some materials are like that.
But that's so like in the forefront there on the left hand side, is that a zircon?
Yeah.
That in the middle looks like a peridot, maybe the green in the background there.
No, so I know the dealers. These
Garners? What is that?
This is a location that produce green zircons. And the picture was taken by my friend Nicholas. I don't. Sorry, there is
On the right-hand side,
rubies.
you can see that-
sapphire.
You can see the nice zircon shape on the on the one side.
Yeah.
But that one, yeah, I mean, that's a peridot color. But any color enhancement on this picture, or is this straight up?
No, it's actually a raw footage. It should be better actually. No, they were tiny sizes. I think Nicholas used a macro lens for that.
Okay.
And they were tiny but super beautiful, super colorful. Speaking about remorse, I'm sorry for not buying these parcel because it just you can't replace it. It was such a beautiful reversal. Yeah,
That's just so much contrast in the color of that one. And there's this spinels, Burmese people.
Yeah, well, I think we should. If we scroll up, we see that's me changing my setup and focusing on the really, really nice cut stones.
Yeah, so I mean that's something that talk to you about as well, actually, because I think one thing that really stands out with your Instagram is the quality of your photography now and the quality of your cutting. Like, if I was going to say what does Gil Yuda specialize in, I would probably say those two things, like good photography videos and good cutting. Is that basically is that how you describe your business model now, is around those sort of principles?
Yeah, I have high standards on both of them. With the photography, it's for the client or the viewer to to have a good experience. I get nauseous when the hand is shaky or the stone is shaky because I'm really trying to focus and see the beauty of the stone. I want these things, these shakings to be disappearing. So
How do you hold the tweezers in that?
because I started with jewelry, I guess I have a very stable
Steady hand, yeah. I think if we can see in this one here, this is kind of the transition, because if you go back a little bit, you were doing more sort of indoor, like you kind of moved from this style, which is that generic, just, was that like a light box background or a piece of paper or something?
It's just my desk and the ring light.
But that, you know, as soon as you start getting this indirect, natural light, it's chalk and cheese. It's like...
So this is me visiting my parents in the kibbutz in Israel, and doing some videos. Again, that's during COVID. So I did actually a lot of traveling during COVID, but I had to. After Africa, I think I went to Israel for a couple of months because it didn't make sense going back to Canada.
So one of your African trips?
Yeah, that's Rwanda.
Oh, yes, that's not as well traveled these days when it comes to the gem people. Like, everyone's going to Kenya, Tanzania, Madagascar, but Rwanda, not so much.
Rwanda, a border with Congo. That was for amethyst, tourmaline. I spent some time in Rwanda. It's a lovely country. It's clean. It's nice. People are. Well,
that's where the British are sending all their refugees now, aren't they? I think.
I feel they're supposedly go to Kigali.
So it's got to be
Rwanda
reasonably good.
Is a small country. Oh, it's super advanced, bro. Really, Kigali is fantastic. Strip malls and amazing coffee. Amazing coffee. The people are super, super welcoming here. Fantastic, really. It's one of the countries that I had the most fun in Africa.
What is your favorite country in Africa then?
Favorite, I would say Rwanda. Yeah, Rwanda, Nairobi was cool. Kenya, Tanzania. Favorite, I mean, in terms of what? In terms of sleeping good in a good hotel, or
enjoying your trip?
Enjoying what? Enjoying stones, enjoying the food. It doesn't always go together in Africa.
Yeah, the food can be a challenge sometimes, but I think yeah.
So for food would be Rwanda and Kenya.
Yeah, I haven't been to Rwanda. Been to Kenya. Kenya, it feels like an easy African country. Like if I was going to tell someone, if you're going to start off on a gem tourism trip
in Africa,
yeah, Kenya is
sure.
I mean, as long as there's no terrorist attack going on at the time.
Yeah, and as long as you have, anywhere you go to source stones, that it's not in your comfort zone, you need to have a certain protocol of, what you can and what you cannot do, and you need to also understand that beforehand. So in Nairobi, your phone to be snatched, your backpack maybe to get stolen, so these type of things. But I guess it's in Paris and London, you worry about the same thing these days. But Nairobi and Voi would be an easy...
Well, it's so close as well. Like once you get to Nairobi, it's not hard to get down to Voi.
Yeah, I believe it's like 3-4 hours, right, to the max.
Yeah, I think on the train it's not even that. Like, I think it's like an hour and a half or something.
Fast.
Yeah.
It's a bit more convenient. Kenya, a bit more convenient than Tanzania in terms of infrastructure, I guess.
So
wider roads and.
But would you say the same as me if you were going to tell somebody, give some advice on the first place to go in Africa to look for gems? We reckon Kenya or Tanzania?
Vietnam.
Fair enough.
In order to see stones and to have an easy time, I would say Kenya. Yeah, Kenya. Also, in terms of the legal export and everything, the government is doing a good job there. Yeah.
Okay, there's Justin and there's Joe.
Yeah, so that's me moving to Thailand and spending 15 days in quarantine. And I created some content. So I just shared with my my followers, the people that are around me, and I told about them. So there is Benny, and then Liga, my friend from BC, and Nicolas HÉBERT is a genius geologist.
So how about we go from left to right, top to bottom, even on the top left?
So Jimmy, my friend Jimmy from Stella Maris Gems on Instagram, a good friend of mine. He sells spinels. We share the same passion. So this is Jimmy. He lives in Shenzhen. And then the next picture is a very good friend of mine. This is Joe Henley from Joe Henley Rough and Gemstones. He's based in Portland, and
He's been around a while now. He's got a pretty good name in the industry, I think.
Yeah, selling rough and now selling also cut stones. And this is our friend Justin K Prim,
Lapidary historian.
lapidary historian, faceting machine collector, faceting books collector. There's a lot of titles there. So, and then Victoria, his wife.
Are they married yet? I think they're fiance, or are they almost there?
Victoria, his spouse. Let's put it this way. Victoria is super talented gem cutter. I worked with her for, I believe, from 2019.
Well, she's one of the very few actual, like, proper master gem cutters who's a female. Like, there's not that many master gem cutters in the world.
There are. She's specializing in small size, so I didn't see many gem cutters in general, male or female, that can take 3 mm stone and cut it so precise, and everything is in her head. She doesn't normally work with a book.
Well, and she did the Swiss trading, like that. But we got to make like
she works with the Bunta, I guess.
Rolex with diamonds going around on perfectly matched tape baguettes. That's she'll cut 50 of those.
Yeah, she come, I believe, from the watch industry, cutting all these cut stones. She started when she was 14 or 12.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Very, very early. Super talented. And this is Nicolas, my geologist friend. This is in, I believe that's in the U.S., digging for dinosaur bones.
Looks like it.
I believe this project was also recorded by National Geographic. So Nicolas, I met Nicolas on Instagram, me being in Chantaburi. And he went to Chantaburi 2 weeks ahead of me, and then he went to Mogok 2 weeks ahead of me, and I finally met him in Mandalay first time. Super knowledgeable person, young man with tons of knowledge on stones, gemstones, crystals. Yeah. And this is my good friend Liga from Liga's Opals. She's an opal cutter. She's based in Canada, surprisingly. Not in Australia. Again, very talented cab maker, cab cutter. She has some exquisite stones. She's sourcing both from, to my memory, from obviously Australia, but also Brazilian material from Pedro Segundo. Very tough material. The Brazilian has beautiful sparks. So Liga does that for many years now. I believe she started in France, and now she lives with her family in British Columbia for many years now. And this is Benny Dror. Benny is a gem cutter. Specializing in emeralds. He's doing that for 40 years. It's coming from the Israeli gem trade part where they developed the Israeli faceting machine. Benny was one of them when they opened factories in South Africa, Colombia, the US. Benny was, he's an emerald industry pioneer in terms of producing and cutting, I guess. So this is Benny. He has an energy of a 24-year-old, but he is over 70.
And the beard of Santa Claus.
Energy is stronger than I would ever. He's like, yeah.
So what? Okay, so this is another thing, I guess, that's become a part of your sort of brand almost,
Right.
is this style of
Arjuna
photography.
pictures.
Yeah.
Arjuna Irsutti pictures.
Right, we're back after that brief construction break going on upstairs. But we were onto the fantastic, arguably one of the best gem photographers in the world, I'd say, old Arjuna.
Yeah, the best. So yeah, these still photos, they bring another aspect, another feeling for the client to see what they're getting. It's also allows me to tell the story better. This is a great example. On video, sometimes it's very, very hard to capture what's going inside a stone. That the inclusions is actually the story here. And Arjuna does that amazing. This is amethyst from Morigiri. It's a pocket that being found, and my friend Joe was able to source it. Actually, it was a scepter, amethyst scepter. And it has beautiful color zoning and root tiles and whole things going on in there.
Bit like that Super 7 sort of style material.
Yeah, exactly. I guess this is Super 5. But so Benny Drawer was cutting those to portrait cuts. And it does amazing. I mean, it shows inclusion so beautiful.
Yeah, I've seen a few of them pop up on your feed there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we've got the construction again. We'll just push through. Oh, there you go. That's almost a square mark cut on that one.
Yeah.
And that's the portrait cut again, yeah.
Portrait cut.
That's the same one.
Yeah, it's the same. And then
here's another good example of Arjuna's
color change zircon from Burma.
So, just FYI, this picture that you're seeing now, that's one stone.
It's one stone, yeah. Under two different lights. It's the same stone. It's very rare material. But he does that with color change garnet. He does that with alexandrite, color change sapphire, I guess.
Well, I think the important thing here, what you're doing as well, is the fact that you've got about the best photograph you can take of the piece, looking as good as it possibly can, and then you've just got daylight.
Yeah.
Like, it's so important to have that. I think it creates so much more trust when you can actually show natural pictures of the piece.
Yeah, there is no benefit for somebody to be amazed by a line from me.
Yeah.
And then get the stone and say, did he send me the wrong stone? You know? So I'm trying to really match what the client is going to get. You know, sometimes it's really tempting to take a Jedi spinel and put it only in the sun, and you know, it looks like that in the sun, but they need to see. That's why I post several videos. They need to get what they see. They need to, you know.
Yeah. I always go along with the philosophy that I would rather have them be pleasantly surprised the stone is better than be disappointed that it looks worse. So like, if the stone is going to look a little bit worse in the picture, I think that's the lesser of the two evils, because at least then your customer is always going to be happy because it's always going to look better.
Yeah, and sometimes some stones do not photograph well. Yeah. Emeralds is the best example. But you have sometimes different hues that are being produced. The color change zircon is totally deceiving my phone camera. Arjuna camera, no. And Arjuna has a very expensive camera, but I mean...
And a bit of editing going on there as well.
When I make the video, I will also put it on the description, what colors I see in person, so people get a better idea of what they're going to get.
And you've got pretty good consistency, it looks like, there as well. Like, sometimes you'll sort of run through feeds like this, and every picture has different lighting, different tone, and sometimes that works, but even though there is a bit of eclecticness in the backgrounds, the quality of the pictures is all very consistent.
Yeah, I'm obsessive about.
But there's
About
just a quick little.
This is a video that my friend Justin was making. It's a tutorial for the Noble flashlight, and also Peter Nelson is doing the voiceover here.
So if people wanted to buy these, what's
They
the best
can
way?
contact on Instagram.
Start through the
On Instagram, yeah. And if there is flashlights,
How much are they going for these days?
$80 for the flashlight, and then shipping with FedEx normally.
It's just a
We can
charger.
get it for
Like that's the basic wall charger for that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
All included?
now what you see here is the old version. The new version has a USB-C charging port. So if you have I guess an Android, you can charge it with your phone. Yeah.
That's me getting. Oh, that little popped up again there. Have you?
Yeah, some post needs to be, because it just get buried down there. I have over 2,000 posts, you know.
Yeah, I think we're literally halfway through here, so I'm going to do
Yeah,
I guess you were getting. Oh, wait, there we go. That was one of the others we were talking about.
That's one of the nicest Star of David. Again, it's the same stone, photo by Arjuna.
So I can see a little thing there saying DM for price. Do I dare ask the price on this one?
So this one sold. The problem is that I promoted it. As soon as you promote, I was so proud of this piece. I had to promote it. I don't know why, but as soon as you promote something on Instagram, you can't edit it again.
Yeah.
So instead of editing first and putting sold, that's why there is a DM. But,
Right, okay.
the price was below 1,000.
And that's about 5.5 mil piece? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I think we also got it certified, if I'm not wrong. A wonderful piece. It's complete.
Should we got a few extra pictures there? There you go. So essentially, it's kind of like a trigon sort of on either side, I guess.
Yeah.
And a nice clean piece. That's definitely a bucket list, I think, for a lot of gem collectors for that kind of thing.
Yeah, Star of David, Spinel is.
But I guess to give an idea of your how prolific you are on Instagram, where are we at there now? That's 2022?
Oh, for box videos, you gotta scroll all the way up. They're much better.
Yeah. So I mean, like, this is like in between where we are now and where we're going to scroll to is like 2 years, which is there's a lot of content there.
The page I have these is on evolution. A lot of content, a lot of good stones that found you home.
But you can definitely see that you found a style that works well, and you run with it.
Yeah, yeah. I've tried many things before, but
A bit of
this is a picture that
Billy's picture.
Billy from Lotus Gemology took that. This is a Burmese spinel with beautiful inclusion, so we had to give it the right attention.
A gemologist piece.
Yeah, for collectors, yeah. For jewelers, probably there is too much inclusions there.
We can see some of the grey spinel popping up there.
Yeah, that was actually a great tourmaline.
Was it?
Yeah, I believe that's a great tourmaline.
Oh yes, there you go. So that's a hard to find material as well.
Ultra. I was
that from Joe?
No, I was in Brazil, in Minas Gerais, and I got that gray piece.
Like TV, like old tube TVs, like the proper, the old.
Yeah.
You fasten that, and basically, that's what you get.
Wow. And these looks like a gray spinel, and
Yeah.
I had to test it, I think, with 2 labs just to make sure that, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I've ever actually seen it in person, to be honest. That true grey style.
Come to Gems Tower. Come to my office.
In the tourmaline?
Yeah. In the tourmaline, the one I have is a tiny bit more bluish, but this was a pure gray. But I got these type of rare stones also from Joe in the rough before. When you see it, you have to get it. I mean, otherwise you're gonna. This is we're looking at. Oh,
Plenty of your the amethyst
Yeah,
pops up a lot.
yeah,
That
it's
portrait,
very
yeah.
popular. So I got from Joe the rough or Ngorongoro and a few other locations to my memory. And there is also, I started with the Moroccan amethyst. They have a different story to tell, each piece, each location, I guess.
Wait, this one I can kind of see an underwater scene kind of going on to there, maybe. Like,
Yeah, it's like a water painting. Some of them are very dramatic. Yeah, it's a one pocket. It's quite a rare find for these to come up in these qualities.
you got you've been doing quite well with ametrine as well. I've seen some of like these really nice, well cut ametrines popping up.
But, people love it. I love ametrine. I think it's such a cool stone.
It's got to have that nice bifurcation though. You can't have like
if it has its blend. I mean, if you work it with it right, it can also be cool. But obviously, the split amethyst is very.
But it's like I guess my sort of initial thoughts on that would come from party sapphires. Like party sapphire being such a big Australian thing that I guess there was always the thing with the party sapphires that you got to cut it and make it two colors because a partition.
Yeah.
And so many people will sell like a sort of off green one, and it's like, well, if you tilt it sideways and squint a little bit, you can see two colors.
It can blend. It can also happen with the Oregon Sunstone if you gotta align it directly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's coming kind of brownish.
Yeah, and it's just not quite the same sort of allure. I think it's
Yeah.
And I guess it's that rarity as well, especially as a cutter, and you know how hard it is to get one of those bifurcations. It's you often lose a lot of weight.
Sure.
So what have we got there?
It's a quartz with rutile. It was just interesting. I believe that's a piece I sourced from Vietnam. Arjuna did, again, amazing picture. Benny was cutting the stone. You see how the Arjuna picture in the video is very similar. There is no extra on his picture or on my video. Again, customers need to see what they're getting, how it looks in real life as much as possible.
And I mean, it does. You've got a pretty sort of, I guess, specific price point, I would say.
So in terms of price point, I guess it would go on public or online up to $3,000-$4,000. I don't see any reason why posting more expensive stones there. I'm not confident also sending, somebody buying off camera $10,000 stone, they need to see it in person. Because there is so much money there that, but also $100 stone, $200 stone, is a stone, that most people, can buy once a year. And it's also to make that accessible for most people. It's important. If you love something, I want to be the one that makes it, available for you.
Yeah. Well,
even if I don't make crazy, amount of that, this is it's more than just, running a business.
I think a lot of it also comes from your photography and the fact that you are so committed to the good cutting and the good quality, because, people might be amazed to see an amethyst selling for hundreds of dollars.
Sure.
But when you see the stone, you're like, oh, okay, well, that's why it cost hundreds of dollars, because it's an amazing piece.
It has to be an amazing piece. It's not then just the price is being dropped is it's an easy thing. There is so many hours behind that. These are so many expenses. It's not cheap to do precision cutting and to do very fine cutting. So the price build up for that, even when it's advertised, sure.
It might be the Instagram gods telling us to wrap it up, because that first page just disappeared, so I have to reload it now. Anything else in the feed that you'd want to highlight to the viewers?
I guess people can go scroll, see. Yeah, there is things that are being changed a little bit here and there with the feed. Yeah, well, you know, whatever is on the feed is for sale. The way if I can say, the way I work is that sometimes I get jewelers looking for 2x4, this and that, and I can't supply it. So, I mean, I do my best people who know my page would know this sentence. I do my best to post as much as possible, but that's pretty much the only way of getting behind the stones. It's very difficult to source it.
So if you're going to wrap up with a few little bits of words of wisdom for maybe about your business or to anybody coming in.
That I love stones. I do what I love 100%, and dedicating my life in this stage for that. Yeah, that's I truly do what I love, and I love their support. I mean, whoever I deal with, I'm really grateful for where I am. Super. Yeah,
Excellent.
that's
Well, thanks so much for coming in. So if you want to find Gil, you can find him on Instagram. You just got the Instagram here? Just no websites or...
we're working forever on the website. I keep promising people, but yeah, the Instagram, I have only one Instagram. There is no bunch of accounts.
Gil Yuda, all one word.
Yeah.
So we can, if anybody wants to contact you, just drop into your DMs and...
Yep. Most welcome, yeah.
I do believe you don't do special orders though. It's what's on the site.
It's what's on the site.
Okay.
And I post, I guess, 15, 20 items a weekend. I do my best. So, yeah.
And these sell out pretty quick. So if somebody did want to catch one of these stones, absolutely things like go in like 15 minutes. So like, when did you...
So Saturday, normally, if I'm not sourcing stones somewhere, you know, in the world, normally I would post on Saturday, Sunday evening.
Bangkok time?
Bangkok time, 8 p.m., starting at 8 p.m., sometimes starting at 8:15, but 8 p.m. all the way down to, I guess, midnight. Give the chance for the North Americans to wake up and join the fun. Yeah, so that's...
Got to get in there you're getting in there quick, I guess, because they go quickly.
I'm happy they do.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much, man. And as always, like and subscribe if you can. That always helps out. And yeah, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Cheers, dude.
Was it okay?